Welcome to another episode of The Shop. Today we will be working on the GMC again. As you saw in the title, we're going to be putting a lift on. We've got 3.5 inches up front and 3 in the rear. This is a mix match kit. So I'll explain it all in just a second. Alright, so showing y'all this, I've got these 1.5 inch spacers right here, which are going for up under the strut. These are 2-inch spacers that go on top of the strut, and these are 3-inch blocks for the rear. Comes with all the hardware I need, which is U-bolts for the rear, bolts for the front lower lift. The upper lift comes with bolts on each side, and these are aluminum, these are aluminum, these are steel. So these are from Road Fury, which is just a kind of, I don't know, a cheaper lift. I did some research looking for lifts, kind of put together the 3.5 inch lift that most companies would make you pay, say, $200 or more for. I got it all for up under $100. So, like I said, just did a little research to make sure I could get everything I needed. I've also got a spacer kit for the front differential to kind of bring it down about 1/2 inch. But I don't know if I have the right bolts, because what I've read is you got to go get 120 millimeter bolts. I got 110 millimeter bolts because that's all they had. So we'll find out. So just went to the hardware store and got some grade 8 bolts like that. So we're gonna get the front done, I know for sure, today. The rear, it shouldn't be an issue. It's just basically 4 bolts on each side, and then dropping it, putting the spacers in, 4 bolts on each side again. So we'll see how quick this can go. The first one we're gonna do is the upper lift. Just taking the strut out, because once we take the strut out and put it back in, we can put these in below it. So we're going to get started with getting to the truck and lifting it up, and then taking the wheels off. So let's go do that. Alright, so we got the strut off and the whole assembly of this. Now this is kind of a top hat. It goes up here a certain way. There we go, like that. So the stock nuts go in here, and then this hardware goes on top through the body into there. So we're gonna make this happen. Alright, if you can hear me over the lawnmower, you can see where this sticks over. So we're going to shave just so this is even all the way around. We're just going to take the grinder and nip those off. That's what I'm going to do now. Alright, so once you get this in here, you basically flip it around and it lines the bolt holes up at the top. So that's what I'm doing now. Put you in a spot before I fall. Alright, see down here, it's got these bolts. I've got my adapter. So snug these down. Check and see if it's fully seated, and it looks like it. It's not going anywhere. So now we got to put the lift on down here and see if I can line it all up like that. So let's get that on. Alright, looking down here, we're going to remove these clips that these other screws go in, because these have nuts that go on the end of them. So that's what we're going to do now, is pop these little clips off. Alright, well, the lift is on. It was a pain in the butt. I didn't show y'all everything. I'll show y'all on the second one. With putting that bottom section on, I had to use some pry bars to get it into place because the strut wasn't lining up like it needed to. And then on top of that, the axle, I guess, slid out of its own mechanism, kind of like this. It kind of slid out, and then I couldn't put it back in because it was hitting like that. So I had to turn the flange up there and then hold on to this right here on the brake, and it got back to where I could engage it again and put it back into place. Then I put two straps up here, started anchoring this ball joint down so it would go in the hole right here. And then once I did that, I had to take a pair of vice grips and go up under here where that is and strap onto that while I tighten that down, because that was spinning. And then after that, the ball joint for the tie rod end, same thing. I had to take a 10mm down here and put it on there as I tighten the nut on here. I just greased it up. Everything looks good. Everything's clear and good. As you see back here, that nut right there, or that bolt, I put it down so it wouldn't hit this with all this, because yeah, I guess I could have put this one straight down too, but it didn't matter to me. The less down on the bottom, the better for me. So that one just wouldn't clear unless it was the nut down. So everything else looks pretty good up here. Everything, I don't have a whole lot of tension on anything. All it did was just push the hub down. It does need to be aligned now that it's like this, and then this bump stop right here is hitting for not having any pressure on it, because there's a lot of tension on that spring right now. So it's going to be kind of bouncy, I think, until I replace this with either another strut spring combo, or I get a drop diff lift and move the diff down a little bit. I still have the spacers that go in here. I don't even know how they go in. I guess they go in right here. Here's one. Then you drop this, and then from the top, and you put a spacer in there, and then you put that back in. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to that today, but it's recommended for this just to give it a little bit more clearance. So let's move on to the other side. Well, let's put this tire on and see how this tire looks on here and see how much clearance we have. I'm hoping it clears back here, because I don't have to cut my brand new fender flares. So let's do that. See how this goes. All right, so looks like it clears right now. That's awesome. Gives it a nice lift. my tire is going to be facing a certain way. I do have a small leak in my valve stem right here, so I got to go get that replaced. I have some valve stems off my other one, but I'm hoping, let's see the clearance on the bump stop. It's not even clearing the bump stop. Once it settles, it might. I'm not sure. Hopefully it will. If it doesn't, we might be clearancing a bump stop and taking that bump stop out, or at least just, I don't know, the top part or something like that. Find a new way how to do this. But as of right now, it's a pretty decent lift, 3.5 inches. So now I gotta get to the other one and get this one done over here, because as you see, this is just up because of the other side was just lifted and it's not settled. So I'll lift this side up and we'll go from there. I think this is all the way down. Yeah, it's all the way down. All right, so let's get to this other side. We gotta switch batteries because this battery's about to die. Once I do that, we'll have the front lifted. The back might be a episode 2 or part 2. It's not much to do it, it's hot out here. But we will find out. So let's get this other part done. Alright, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, I think I have, but these little tools for prying stuff, as of this, or these up here, or these right here, are amazing. If you're ever dealing with cars to an abundance, this is what you need, is one of these little pry tools. So what you do is you stick it up under here, you pry it up, and it just pulls it out. Instead of trying to use pliers or anything else, it makes it really simple and easy to pull off little pieces like that. So if you don't have one, go get you a set at Harbor Freight or somewhere. They come in handy, like more than you could ever know. So let's get in here and start doing this lift. Alright, if you see this, I shaved this off a little bit because it was too long. It was actually 2 inches, so it hung over and hit this. The other one that I've already put on, I'll have to take these off individually and shave just about a 1/4 inch off. So this should work. That one's a little bit lower than what I wanted, but it'll still go in pretty decent ways. So we're gonna go put this one on and then get the other one set up to not have such long bolts and mess up the top hat of the strut. So here we go. Alright, so I got these bolts in. They're not all the way tight yet, but once I quench this down a little bit further, it'll get tighter. But as you see, these straps are here so I can get this in here. So it's moving a little bit. I'm tightening this one down right here, trying to get this as my last hunker point, however you want to say it, to get this control arm up. It's a pain in the butt. So Got to strap this thing down. Once I strap it down, it should start giving it up. So that's what we're doing right now. All right, we're not really off the bump stops yet, but once this settles down a little bit more and we get this big bumper on the front with some weight, it should settle. So, but I think it's a whole lot higher than it was, especially compared to the rear. Look at the rear. I can't really measure it because of the fact of them on dirt and grass, but this is close to the back. The back's still coming up. This is going to shrink down. So, but this should settle about almost an inch, I would think, after the weight's put up front and the springs settle. So, like I said, if it doesn't, we'll figure out the bump stop situation. I'll end up probably cutting them and moving them down a little bit. I am going to drop the front diff 1/2 inch. With those little spacers to give the angle of the front drive shafts, the CV axles, a little bit more of a cushion to play. So this is just the front. I'll get to the rear in another episode, which is simple. It's blocks. Hopefully the brake lines are good and the shocks are long enough. I'm not going off-road, it's just more of a look for this, but it can be capable if I want it to. So that's what it looks like with my fender flares, my tires, my wheels, and now I just need my bumper on it. So like I said, for the next episode I should be getting the rear on and putting the front bumper on soon. Alright, so kind of had to not take the end of this video yet because the front lift. We put the front bumper on. I did it in this episode so that y'all can see a few things. One is I kind of need to lift the front up a little bit more. I don't know if I'm going to. It's lining up good. It's about 1/2 inch off on this side and 1/2 inch off on this side, so it lines up pretty good. I could have brought it out further, but it wasn't planned to have these on there. My other issue, I had to cut my fender flares back a little bit because the tires 35s are rubbing, and you can see how much they've turned and they're not all the way in, so they're going to keep rubbing. On this side I cracked this one already, so and you can see all the fresh clean rubber right there where the tire's rubbing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to run the tires back and forth to see how close it gets. I'm not sure how I'm gonna fix this issue. It's either I'm gonna be it's either I'm gonna have to beat it back with a hammer right here, or just completely cut that out and form this back further with a heat gun, which I've done on other trucks before. So, but take a look at 3.5 inches up front with 35s versus no lift in the rear. with 35s. So as you see, it's a decent amount higher than the back there, but that has a 3-inch block coming, plus it has all that stuff in the back and a boat on the back of it. So it's starting to get there, starting to lift up. One of the next projects I'll probably do is take these off because I don't like them and they're pretty sun faded. So I've got a black and silver truck. It looks pretty snazzy. I gotta add a little bit more Herculiner paint right here because it didn't layer it like I wanted to right there. So, but the good thing is, since I did it myself, it works. The next thing on the list is down here, these things got to go. So I got to cut those off. So got to cut those off and then got to move this. I have a reservoir that I'll show y'all in the next video for bumper install when I cut those horns off. And where I'm going to find out where I want that piece to go, I'm not sure. It's just a little reservoir that holds the fluid. It's not as big as that one, but I can hide it up in there and so it doesn't get damaged if I ever go off-road and hit something. So that's that. I am going to do a video on if I can clean all that corrosion up. This is all in here. I've got some metal polish. I'm not sure if it will. These are aluminum. So I'm hoping I don't have to sit here and pull all this chrome off to polish them out like I need. Oh, and then the other thing is, as you see, it's still resting on that bump stop right now. So I've got to figure that part out too, because I don't want it riding on the bump stop because it'll just ruin those control arms. And if it tried to push down any further, it can't go down any further. So I was hoping the weight of that bumper would take it out, but I guess the springs still have to settle a little bit. I've decided I'm going to take, if you can even see that, alright, from right about here behind the bolt, I'm going to cut out all the way out and bend this all back so that this is not being hit, because you can see where the tire's rubbing all the way to here, and that's sitting here not moving. So I've got to push all this back at least, I don't know, half an inch or so that it can make sure it doesn't hit it anymore when it's turning. So that's I'm going to take the grinding wheel to it and just lop this off like I'm saying, and it should take care of it. So. Alright, so as you see, I took a chunk of metal off and I've pushed this back a little bit more, so I'm hoping it doesn't rub. I'm going to check on it in just a second. I'm going to do the other side right after I turn this wheel. So let's turn this wheel. Oop, wrong way. Alright. It's still hitting a little bit, but it should rub its way out. Or I can get that heat gun and just manipulate it a little bit more. So either way, probably going to take the hammer to this part a little bit to push it back even further. But it's better, it's not hitting metal now, just hitting rubber. Alright, now on both sides, as you see, this thing moves back a decent amount. I've hammered all the metal back there. I cut a portion off so it can move. So my next part is, if it keeps doing this, I'll just lop this off and it won't have to worry about hitting that anymore. Just don't want it to hit it and rip it up. So it is on both sides. This side is still touching, but like I said, it may or may not over time fix itself. So just things to look at whenever you are doing a 3.5 inch lift with 35s. And 35s aren't really clearanced in a 1500 GMC or Sierra or anything else like that. So my next option is, if this continues to be an issue, I can get another like 1.25 inch or something like that lift for the body, which if I do that, I'll have to put a new plate on the front of the bumper and raise the bumper up 1 inch, which runs into other issues because this thing's not meant to go up another inch. The clearance issues won't be, this will be a little bit more accessible, but Other things would probably get in the way, but I don't know. We might get to that point later. So, because I'm not going to use little bumper brackets, so I'd rather use full out pieces, kind of like these, which came in the kit, which I guess this would raise it if I wanted it to. And if that's the case, then I'll raise it and it'll work. The next episode, or this episode, or whichever episode, we're going to be working with these lift blocks and these. So we're going to see where that goes and see how we can get this done and get this truck lifted the way it's supposed to. But right now, I'm going to move this boat and take everything out the back of it and see how it drives with the tires hitting the fender wells. So I've also ordered a light because mine was cracked and I have a feeling it was leaking interior. And there's two little factors that make the extended cabs leak on the interior, and one is that back light. So eliminating that factor and hoping it doesn't leak anymore inside. I'll make another video about where leaks come from on extended cabs for those years. But I want to thank you for joining in to another day on the shop. It's hot, I'm sweaty, I'm dirty. Oh, this helped you at all? Give me a like, a subscribe, or something. If it didn't, comment below, let me know what's up. I will talk about this later with how it does and if there's any changes I have to make, so that y'all are informed on either to buy something like this for a little bit cheaper than a kit, or just buy the kit and just be done with it. Because some kits end up having some problems anyway. So we're going to find out what we got, we're going to find out how it works and everything else. But until next time.